Hi there, greetings from the banks of the Rio Grande River in Big Bend National Park in West Texas. We're here now, obviously, but for the last 3 weeks we've been in the eastern part of Texas. And Cheryl's going to host a video following this, talking about our visits to the Houston, the Dallas, Waco, Austin, and San Antonio areas. So hopefully you enjoy it, and if you do, please subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.
Hi, we are Cheryl and John. We sold our home and business in March 2020 and set out to live life differently, traveling the country in an RV with our twin daughters, Brighton and Daisy. We believe the best days are always ahead of us, even in good times. Thank you for joining us as we inspire others to seek the bright days ahead. So our first stop was in the Houston area in Lake Conroe, which is really in Willis, Texas, and that is a Thousand Trails park. So we're members of Thousand Trails, and so we visited the campground there. And while we were there, we were looking for something fun to do, and we got a lot of recommendations, some of our full-time friends, and most of them were either the Houston Space Center or the Houston Zoo. And this is where we felt as our family for four to go to the Houston Space Center. It would have been over $140. And we didn't think our girls were at the appropriate age that would really get a lot of benefit out of it. So we decided to forego it. And then regarding the zoo, we've been to several zoos so far, and we're really looking forward to going to the San Diego Zoo. But for those families that's something that you could do, I would suggest maybe doing the City Pass, which is in Houston, for $64 for an adult and $54 for a child. It includes 5 museums, including the Space Center and the zoo. But what we did was a little bit more budget friendly, and I think the girls had just as much fun. Near Conroe, Texas, there's a little place called 7 Acre Woods. It's a family fun park where they have a playground, a petting zoo, and zip line, which the girls loved. I think John did it and I did it once too, didn't we?
It was a fun zip line, yeah.
Yeah, and even though we've done a lot of petting zoos, and John always teases about that, the girls got a lot out of it. And we saw our very first Scottish, what is that thing called? Scottish Angus cow or Scottish Highland cow.
Highland, yeah.
And so we got to feed that and pet it and a few things like that. Another thing we did was I hooked up with an old mentor friend of mine from when I was a rainbow girl. My old rainbow mom, Anna Harbison, and we had barbecue with her, and we got to sit down with her family and her husband and just enjoy dinner and reminisce. And bonus, she was a grandparent and had lots of Legos for the girls to play. So I think we all enjoyed that a lot as a family, was just making those reconnections with some friends. There's a new neighborhood going in near Conroe, and we got to tour around and see some of the houses. Not that we're ready to buy one yet, but it was an amazing playground that we'd heard about. And it had a water pad, splash pad, like a climbing ninja rope course, and the girls really got a lot of fun out of that. And it was free. Other things that we did while we were there, John laughed when I said we needed to do it, but if we ever wanted to travel internationally, our girls don't have a passport. So while we were in Conroe, we had to run around and take pictures of the girls at CVS and fill out paperwork and go to the post office. So I will put a link below. Getting a passport for children under 16 has a couple extra steps, so I'll put a link below for you. And then on our drive out of Houston on the way up to Dallas area, we stopped at Buc-ee's and saw a lot of the wildflowers, which was just beautiful along the Texas Highway. And look it up. Texas Highway has a really great website. I'll put it below, and it shows all the wildflowers that are out. And actually, they don't mow the Texas wildflowers between the months of April to May until wildflower season is over. So next up, where we went was the Dallas area. So this wasn't originally planned in our trip, but I asked John if we could make a special stop as it was close to my great Aunt Ruth's 92nd birthday, and she lives in Frisco, Texas. Now there wasn't a Thousand Trails near there, so we picked a campground called Grapevine Texas, which is in Grapevine on a lake, Grapevine Lake. So it's a huge lake, and it was a really nice resort. While we were there, we did drive up and saw Aunt Ruth, and we have a video for it, so we'll put a link below. It's a really special moment to get to see Ruth with her great nieces. To continue on our errand theme, a few things that we did there was we got our COVID shots And while we're traveling in Texas, we go through a lot of tolls, and we made sure that we got our toll tag for Texas to stay legal. I'll put a link below too for that. Finally, the most fun thing we did in the Dallas area was we visited the Fort Worth stockyards. Now this was a day that the whole family enjoyed. We made it in time for the Longhorn Drive, which every day at 11 o'clock they run longhorns down the old street, and you can see it. The girls even got to sit up on one, and we went around into the pens area afterwards, and you got to see what all the longhorns were named. There's a petting zoo and a wild maze too. We just really enjoyed looking at all the shops around Mule Alley, including the King Ranch store, and then we had a lunch at a steakhouse nearby.
What was the name of that steakhouse? Risky's.
Oh yeah, it was Risky's Steakhouse.
Reasonable and good food.
It was very reasonably priced and good food.
And then the money we saved there we spent when we went across the street.
Yes, the highlight of our trip was we went across the street, and the old cowgirl in me just had to get pink cowboy boots for the girls. A couple things in Grapevine that is something for you to do if you're there is it's a big convention and resort center. So they have the Gaylord Resort Center, and they also have Great Wolf Lodge, which has a water park, and then Bass Pro Shop. And we didn't get to do it because, again, we were traveling with 4-year-olds. But Grapevine, Texas is really known for a lot of their old wineries. They don't have any wineries left open, but if you do go downtown, each winery has a store or storefront or shop where you can taste some of the old wines. And this is really the wine country of Texas. On our way to Waco, we just were going to do one overnight. We generally don't like to do overnights, but we made an exception for this. So since it was a short trip from Dallas to Waco, we got there around noon at I-35 RV Park. Now, this RV park was not anything to write home about, but I'll tell you, sometimes these parks offer a lot. It had a pull-through, a nice wide site, full hookup, all for $35, and the bonus is they served breakfast in their cafe the day after for free. So we all got a big, huge breakfast on our travel day. While in Waco, we went to go see Magnolia and my good friend Joanna and Chip Gaines. So we got to spend some time around the silos. We ate at a food truck and then saw her new church that she just built in that area. After Magnolia, we looked around the town of Waco. We got to see the Baylor campus, who just recently won the NCAA tournament, and then the Texas Ranger Museum. I ran out and got a picture in front of it as I was an old Texas Walker Ranger fan, but got overruled to go in the museum. Instead, we went to the Waco Woolly Mammoth National Monument, and this is where they found full-size woolly mammoths. I'll warn you, your America Beautiful Pass does not get you in, as the city of Waco owns that area and they have a small fee to get in. But they do have a junior ranger program that was really worth it, and it was great to see a fossil dig find.
Always leave it better. Then I found it.
After Waco, we made our way to the Texas capital of Austin. There we stayed at La Hacienda RV Park near Lake Travis, another lake. We had a few more errands to run. First, I got to go grocery shopping at my very first HEB. John needed a physical work and got some blood work done. So if you're ever doing some traveling and need to get work done, you can find a LabCorp and your doctor can send in a order for it. It's very easy, and that's how we've had to take care of some of our doctor's appointments. And then finally, we needed to do an old cell phone update, which takes some time. We did see this Texas state capitol, which that state capitol is taller than the actual nation's capital by 15 feet. The grounds were beautiful, and we got to see both the Texas African American Memorial and the Mexican American Memorial.
Can I take a picture of the goat?
And look at that cowboy.
That's a conquistador.
Later, we got to see our very first friends that we ever made on the road, which were the Cattells. And you can follow them with Traveling with the Cattells. We went to a really great park in the area called Lakewood Park in Leelander, Texas. It has a splash pad, a huge jungle gym, twisty slides, a big picnic area, and birthday party. And it was just a great way for the kids and the adults to reconnect. And finally, Austin is just beautiful to drive around and look at the hill country. And I really encourage you to do that. It's a beautiful city. Next up, we made our way to the San Antonio area. Now we stayed at Medina Lake RV Resort, another 1,000 trails. I'm going to tell you, make sure you double check that, because I may have put in the GPS Lake Medina RV Resort, which we went to first. There's a funny Instagram story about it if you want to check it out. Medina Lake didn't have much of a lake as it's very dry, which we were surprised by, but it did have a lot of deer. And when I say a lot of deer, I think one day in our campground we had about 45 deer. While at Medina Lake, we met our friend Kathy, who is subject of our very first BDA Fireside Chat interview. Check it out on YouTube. Kathy was generous enough that she gave us deer corn so the girls could feed deer. They really enjoyed this, and the deer would come up, and as long as you had corn, they were super gentle with them and fed right out of their hands. It was a really neat experience for them. Now we did get to go see the Alamo. Now this was the first time John had seen the Alamo. I saw it a couple years ago. It was a cold, chilly day. I think it was 55 degrees, which was a big shock after it had been 80 degrees. So we didn't get to hang out at the Alamo as much as we wanted, but we did go inside, we saw the grounds, and then we even had the girls talk to a guy who was reenacting an old Texas American Army camp. Later, we did the river walk, where we got to eat at a restaurant called Rio Rio. Here, we got to sit down and have fun as a family eating chips and salsa. While we were there, this lady came by and asked if she could take our picture for free for the restaurant. Later, John bet me a whole $1 that she was doing this to sell us bigger pictures. I bet him and said, no, it was just so we could be in their website. The true marketer in me just knew that was it. Sure enough, she came back and gave us one free picture and then offered for $35 to sell us bigger pictures. I don't think she left the table before we were cracking up. I fell for it every time. We had a little bit of an accident while we were in Medina Lake. Daisy got knocked in the lip by a swing while they were playing at the playground, and she split open her lip. So this was our first emergency while we were on the road. We quickly found a children's urgent care, and because of the placement of the little cut on her lip, it was right on the Vermilion line, they referred us to University Children's Hospital. Having an emergency and having to go to a hospital can be scary for any children or parent, but I think going to the children's hospital really helped put our ease at fear. They really cater to the children by being nice, and they have toys and more interactive things, and got us in quickly. The doctors were excellent, and while Daisy was really scared at the moment, all she remembers is that she got a doll from it and a little bit of a boo-boo. One quick stitch and she's back on the road. That wraps up our travels in East Texas. Next up for us, we'll be visiting West Texas, including Big Bend National Park, and then heading over to New Mexico to see Carlsbad Caverns, White Sands, and a bunch of my family. So if you want to see more videos, be sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And we hope that we inspire you to have bright days ahead.